So we looked at solving one-step addition and subtraction inequalities, and we knew that it was exactly like solving one-step addition and subtraction equations. Now let's go ahead and look at, can I solve inequalities by multiplying and dividing? So let's jump into our first example. Let's draw a line down the the inequality sign. I almost said equal sign. Draw a line down the inequality sign. I see that I have x divided by 3. The inverse of divide would be multiply. Whatever I do to one side, we want to do to the other. And that becomes a 1x is less than negative 6. And so we got x by itself, and let's go ahead and graph this inequality. In order to graph it, remember, we're going to put the number right in the middle. 1 less than would be negative 7, and 1 greater than would be a negative 5. And so this is a less than, so it's an open circle on the negative 6. It was not a less than or equal to, just a less than. And now we want to shade. And which one, x is less than negative 6? So we're going to shade to the left here for the less than. And so I want to check this. I want to make sure this worked. And so let's go ahead and check it. And I'm going to put a negative, I'm going to pick a negative 9. I know negative 9 is less than negative 6. So negative 9 divided by 3, less than negative 2. You can pick any number that would be shaded in green to the left of the negative 6, and you put it into the original where the x is. And I get a negative 3 is less than a negative 2. And so yes, check, yes, it works. Perfect. So far, we're doing great. I'm going to tell you we're going to come to a hiccup on the next one. So as we go ahead and look at the next example, and on this example, I want you to watch what I do. I don't want you to write this down yet. I'll give you a minute to write this down. Do not write this down. Watch. I'm going to draw a line through the inequality sign. This is a negative 9 times y. The inverse of times is divide. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 9. Now I have on the left-hand side, I have a 1y, and I have the less than 63 divided by negative 9 is a negative 7. Do not write this down. There's a reason. Please watch. I'm going to put the negative 7 in the middle. 1 less than would be a negative 8. 1 greater than would be a negative 6. It is a equal to, so we can put a closed circle on the negative 7. And y is less than negative 7 would mean I need to shade to the left. I want to check this. I want you to see what happens. We think the numbers less than negative 7 are going to make this true. You're not writing this down. I'll tell you when. So if I look at my original problem, the numbers less than negative 7, let's pick negative 8. Is a negative 9 times a negative 8 less than or equal to 63? Negative 9 times negative 8 is a positive 72. Is that less than or equal to a 63? No, it is not. So we just learned something. And I'm going to literally erase what I just did there. And I want to show you what you just learned. The difference between this problem and the one before was we actually divided by a negative. And when every single time or any time you divide by a negative or you multiply by a negative, you have to flip your inequality symbol. Every single time you multiply or divide by a negative value, you flip your inequality symbol. So we really want to shade to the greater. Y is greater than or equal to -7. And let's check and see if this works. I'm going to take my -9. Y is less than or equal. Go back to the original. And now that I've gone back to the original, I'm going to put a -6 in. And -9 times a -6 is a +56, and that is less than or equal to 63. So I'm going to type it at the bottom in our little summary, and I'm going to then tell you to pause and write all of this down. When we solve inequalities, if we multiply or divide by a negative number, we must flip the inequality symbol. Anytime we multiply or divide, and I'm even going to go through and highlight this. If we multiply or divide by a negative number, we must flip the inequality symbol. So right now, I want you to hit pause, and I want you to get this example written down. I didn't want you to have to erase everything because I wanted to show you why we flip the inequality symbol, because we want to shade the values that are true. And then we have 2 more examples and we're done. So pause and write. So we're going to look at these last 2 examples now that you got them all written down so far. And remember, if we multiply or divide by a negative, we're going to flip. So I'm going to draw a line. Oops, I've got my highlighter on here. I'm sorry. Let me get my pencil. So we're going to draw a line through the inequality symbol that says n divided by a -3. The inverse of divide is multiply. And we want to multiply by a -3. Yes, I just said a negative. At this point, I would flip the sign right away so you don't forget. When you multiply or divide by a negative, you flip your inequality. So now I have 1n is greater than or equal to a +3. And so we're going to put 3 on my number line. 1 less than is 2. 1 greater than is 4. This is going to be an open circle because it just says less than. N greater than 3 would be to the right, so we're going to shade to the right because we know 4 is greater than 3. And we are done. Don't forget to flip if you multiply and divide by a negative. Let's look at this very last example, and this one has a fraction. And so we know to get rid, we're going to draw a line down the inequality sign, sorry. It's the most common mistake. We say equal sign, we draw an equal sign, make sure you're saying inequality and looking at an inequality symbol. The inverse of a -3/4 would be 4 divided by -3. Remember, this is a reciprocal example. 4 divided by a -3. We want to multiply by the reciprocal. When we do this, our inequality sign changes because I multiplied by a negative, so flip it. The reason we do this is because we're going to have a 1W on the left, and if we multiply our fractions here, I made 3 a fraction. 3 times 4 would be 12. 1 times -3 is a -3. So I have 1W is less than or equal to a -4. So anytime we multiply or divide both sides of our inequality by a negative, we are going to flip the symbol. Let's go ahead and put a -4 right in the middle. 1 less than is -5. 1 greater than is a -3. This is a closed circle because its W is less than or equal to. And we want to shade to the left. So the only difference between this and what we've been doing with equations is if you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, flip the inequality symbol. That's it.